What is up guys, CTO here and welcome back to another video where I will be talking about the importance of 1v1 matchups in Brawl Stars. I'll discuss the relevance of 1v1s, how to advantage your team, as well as how to win more 1v1 matchups in Brawl Stars, all in this video. Let's get right into it. 1v1s or 1v1s in general are a type of confrontation between one person from each team. In Brawl Stars, it references a duel between a player on each team, typically focusing on each other to control an area of the map. There are two main types of 1v1s. So first of all, open lane 1v1s, which mostly happens on long range, not very bushy maps like Dry Season, and two close lane 1v1s, which happens on usually some close range maps, some important walls interfere in between, and on semi-bushy maps like Sneaky Fields. There can also be two types of 1v1s on the same map. Usually either the mid is open and the sides are closed like Hard Rock Mine, or vice versa, so the mid is closed and the sides are quite open like Dueling Beetles. Lanes are the imaginary division of the sides of the map on which you play, typically left, middle, and right. You want each person to go into one lane if that is possible. Usually, most maps come in 3 lanes, but some come in less or more lanes. Therefore, you can send each person on the team to overlap on a lane, or to send them to control multiple lanes according to the scenario. There are two types of lane style maps. First of all, defined lane maps which have walls, water, or grass to an extent to fully divide the lanes and they are hard to switch, like Beachcombers. And two undefined lane maps which have walls, water, or grass to define the lanes but no complete barriers, making the map more free to play on, like Pit Stop. According to this information, it is much more rewarding to win your lane or matchup on a defined lane map, as it is much harder for opponents to control multiple lanes at once. One v ones can greatly benefit your overall coordination in the game, as well as picking a target you would want to face. For example, if your teammates struggle against, say, Mr. P, but you can counter him, all you got to do is to switch to the lane where Mr. P is and weaken him. Consider not to overlap lanes with another player too much for two main reasons. Number one, it increases the chance of the enemy getting value with their ammo, since they can hit 2 or more potential targets. And number two, you'll lose control on a part of the map if you have not killed your opponent yet, and it will give you less space on the map, making you more prone to being cornered. That said, you can absolutely support your teammate after you have won your 1v1, or if it's a 2-lane map, then you're forced to overlap lanes with the partner. You should always prioritize going for the brawler you're facing, unless you find an opportunity to help your teammate or when they're struggling, perhaps with a super. You should go for a duel against a brawler you're sure to win against 100% of the time. You need to battle in the same lane as them and always focus on him, trying to be as annoying as possible. Occasionally, if you find another brawler trying to kill you, go away from them or make a reactive play by applying pressure, whatever is best to do in the case. If you're facing a brawler which you have trouble with, there are 3 things that you can do. Number 1, switch lanes. Communicating mid-match with your teammates by switching lanes here is very important, especially when you're struggling. However, consider that there's a chance that you're letting your opponent control a larger area of the lane if you switch, as that takes time. Number 2, engage at the right time. Sometimes you may not have the best tools to take out the enemy. You may engage the enemy again when you have your super, a gadget, or even when they're at low health. Choosing the right amount takes patience, but it's all worth it at the end. Number 3 is to bait them. It may sound hard and ridiculous, however it is much simpler than you might think. You can bait with 2 methods. Number 1 is to making them overcommit on offense, either on a push or on you, so that you can then take the control. Usually they would have died or wasted a lot of resources after overcommitting. Number 2 is to make them waste ammo so that you can advance safely. Most people throw in a shot or 2 to keep their enemies away from them and have a chance of hitting them. Do the same thing, but be conservative on ammo and only use it when necessary. You can pressure your opponent effectively by following this method. I have a few tips, but the most important one to take into account is to practice. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. My recommendation is to practice with people at the maximum of 5k trophies above or below your trophy count. That said, you can play more games with randoms or with a team. Watch competitive gameplay if you have time to analyze pro players' moves. While you're practicing, try to 1v1 on a variety of maps, not just one. Try also to avoid doing 1v1s in Purple Paradise, as it does not imitate real gameplay, which has walls and bushes you can use for cover. Mix some long range maps like Shooting Star with some short range maps like Triple Dribble, while passing by some other iconic maps like Double Swoosh to vary up your gameplay. The more experience you have, the more you know. Let's enter into some gameplay tips. Number 1 is to analyze your opponent's shooting and moving patterns. This is especially prevalent with long-range brawlers like Colt. Some things to take note of are the timing they strike in, how they retreat and heal up, the time of the usage of their supers and gadgets, and whether or not they're trying to bait you, as I've explained it before. Number 2 is to stay focused on both things. Keeping an eye on the enemy is one thing, but you also need to focus on the main objective of the game. Example, collecting bolts in Siege. Unless the objective of the game is to kill the enemy, like bounty or knockout, then focus more on the objective, at least one person of your team, so that you contribute to your overall victory. Number 3 is to not overcommit. Your health and ammo are valuable resources in a fight, so save onto them as much as possible. Do not take unnecessary damage. Retreating while attacking is a very good tactic to advantage you. Do not fire 3 shots at once unless you're at a close range. Use 1 or 2 test shots to locate the enemy, but be conservative with your ammo, as I've said before. That is because there's a chance you will miss your shot, so using all 3 will make you vulnerable to attacks when you miss them. Therefore, you can't retaliate back. Get back on your sleeves and recall what happened wrong. Ask yourself questions like these. Did I go against the wrong brawler? Have I pressured the enemy enough or wasted his ammo? What are some of the playstyles he likes to use? Next time you face your enemy after you died or in the second match, adopt a new strategy and play it according to his playstyle. Try to counter him by coming up with a solution to all of the questions above, like go for the aggro brawler, bait his ammo by choosing unpredictable movements. Notice that he likes to play very passive but rushes in for a kill. Those are the things that you can consider. If you're in a 1v1 situation, the same principles apply. However, you won't have a teammate nearby to help you on some matchups, so you need to be aware of who you choose to confront. They might also have their super or part of a charge, so be careful about that. Power cubes contribute to a 1v1 modification since they buff a brawler's damage and health. Some matchups without power cubes can be completely different than with a power cube difference on the same brawlers. Teamers unfortunately also ship up the 1v1, and their goal is to recruit as many people as possible and gang up on the people who wouldn't team with them. Of course, you're at a great disadvantage when you don't team, and your game would be smoother when you're gathering of teamers, but please do not team. And lastly, in Showdown you can be attacked by multiple players at the same time and vice versa. In duos, the same things mentioned here can happen, but now you have a teammate which you can rely on. As such, a great duo showdown tip is to have 2 brawlers that complement each other's weaknesses. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new here. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. It took a lot of research and gathering, so I do appreciate your support. Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.